All right, welcome to Core Cutting This Week, the podcast, episode number 17, recorded September 12th, 2019. This is the show where Jess and I break down some of the biggest stories happening in the world of core cutting from the past week and give our opinions on them. If you're watching this live, after it's done being live in the show, it's down below. I'll put a link to each story so you can read them for yourself. Leave us a comment if you want to learn more about what we're talking about. But Jess, how was your week?
My week has been good. Super busy. I know it's been crazy over there too.
Yeah, there has been just a tiny bit of news. I think Apple kind of said something. Maybe some Disney Plus launching early. Spectrum may have done something crazy and decided to raise their price for the third time in a year.
Why not?
I don't know. Doesn't seem like anything to talk about at all. But no, there's been a lot happening. And there's a lot to cover. So let's dive into it.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, we have the new, we have a deal for you. Amazon's Prime Day pricing on the Fire TV Stick 4K, which I guess isn't new anymore because it's now, the Fire TV Cube is the newest player on the market. But you can get it half off for just $24.99 and get half off Philo for 2 months with a promo code. Now you need a promo code. Link in the show notes down below if you want to get that promo code. I'll also put it in the description on the audio version if you're listening to the audio podcast. But with that code, you can get it, the Fire TV Stick, for $24.99. Now there's one caveat. It's not available to everybody, and we're not really fully sure how they're deciding who gets this deal and who doesn't get this deal. So keep that in mind. I'm not sure how that all happens and how they are deciding this. So hopefully you're one of the lucky people to get the deal. All right. Jess, while I fix your frozen camera real quick, why don't you start with this? Why don't we jump into story number 2, the Apple story, and you read it and I'll fix your camera real quick.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on here. Having all kinds of technical difficulties this morning. Okay, so I will start off then. Spectrum has started to notify customers about this upcoming price hike for their TV and internet packages. So we reported on this a few weeks ago over at cordcuttersnews.com, and then we talked about it on the podcast 2 weeks ago. We made this announcement. So now customers are starting to get these notifications about this increase that they're going to see on their bill. So the prices just everywhere are going up, but the big one is that customers will now be paying $13.50 for broadcast TV fees, and that's up from $11.99. So altogether, you're going to be paying $162 per year in this broadcast TV fee. So this is the third price hike just for this fee in the past 12 months, which is kind of crazy. So back in November of 2018, the price went up from $8.85 to $9.95. Then in March of this year, the price went up again from $9.95 to $11.99. And now we're seeing this third price hike. So kind of a big difference just in the past 12 months. We're also seeing increases in other packages and things. So Spectrum digital adapters are going up to $7.99. Spectrum TV Select going up to $72.49. TV Silver is going up to $92.49. And TV Gold is going up to $112.49. And then Spectrum Internet is going up as well. Without Wi-Fi, it's going from $65.99 to $69.99. And with Wi-Fi, it's going up from $70.99 to $75.99. So just prices are going up all over, but especially that broadcast TV fee. That's the one that's really making a big difference.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see Spectrum's move here. And I also love how there's no coverage of this in the press.
None.
If this was DirecTV, now AT&T, Nevo, Hulu, PlayStation View, etc., front page news story, look at the high cost of streaming. Spectrum raises their price, crickets. Maybe a little local newspaper here, a little local newspaper there. Kind of strange a little bit, but I don't know. I vented now.
Yeah, and we're learning about it just from readers sending in emails, which has been super helpful, but kind of funny that that's how we have to get our information because we're not seeing it anywhere.
Yeah, thankfully we did get a little bit of a heads up a few weeks ago from from Inside Spectrum about it, but not from Spectrum PR, which I guess you would kind of expect. And I think the really good news here is cord cutting is going up about $5, actually $4 and change. And cable is going up 7 something, right? If I were to do the quick math here, a lot of these packages are going up about $7. So this means you're saving more with cord cutting this year if you were a Spectrum TV customer than you did last year at this time. That's great news. Yeah, we're going up a few dollars in internet, but Spectrum TV is going up even more, especially when you add in the price hike in the digital adapters, the broadcast TV fees. Who knows? There may be additional fees that we didn't get because we don't have the full price sheet posted online yet. A few reminders here. Spectrum has different packages in different markets. For example, if you're in an old Time Warner market and you're on old Time Warner cable packages still, though they're working hard to try to push people off of that, your pricing and your changes may be a little bit different. These are looking at the core Spectrum packages for the Spectrum markets. These are also the new packages. You can't get the grandfathered Time Warner cable packages anymore, for example. So keep that all in mind. But here's a prediction. Okay, 3 price hikes in 1 year from Spectrum. Jess, how many price hikes do you think we'll get next year from Spectrum, in the next 12 months, I should say?
Wow, hard to say. Well, let's see. So we started out in November and then we went to March. So that was a few months. And then from March to October, when this goes into effect, that's another few months. So I'm going to say, I think another 3 next year. I think it's just going to keep going up, and Spectrum is going to do what they can to compete against streaming services.
That would be something. 6 price hikes in 2 years. And people get upset when Sling TV does 1 price hike in 3 years. So I am honestly interested to see what Spectrum does here. And what does this look like? Because typically we get a second price hike, or we typically get a price hike, I should say, right after the first of the year. That's when most cable companies raise their price. Are we going to see Spectrum do this again just in a couple months? This is also interesting because, all these people, my price is locked and guaranteed. You probably heard that, right? Oh, I went to Spectrum. They promised not to raise my price for 2 years or something. Well, if you look at that, you may not get the price hike on the core plans, like the Spectrum TV Select, but those digital adapters, the broadcast TV fees, and more will see a price hike. Those are not guaranteed in those price locks. So keep that in mind.
So your plan is locked into place, but not the additional fees and services.
Exactly. So it's kind of a loophole a little bit where they can say, hey, we didn't raise your plan. We raised our 40-some fees or whatever it is. I think they're at about 8 or 9 fees right now. So keep a close eye on this. I'll be interested to see all those other little fees if they get hiked too. And if you get one of these notices with the full breakdown, send us an email. Go to corecarsnews.com, click on the Contact Us. We'll reply back with an email to send it to. We'll love to see it. All right, anything you want to add here?
Yes, actually. So if you are a Spectrum customer and you're expecting to see this price hike, you'll get a note on your September bill, and this will go into effect in October. I forgot to mention that.
And that's one of the funny things. We got a lot of comments. I didn't get a price hike. And whenever I would ask them, when's your bill? And they would say, September 20th is my next bill. I'm like, okay, well, September 20th, you'll get the notification. And then your bill will happen, price hike will happen on October 20th for exactly roughly. So keep that in mind. All right, let's get into the next story, but real quick, thanks everybody joining us on the chat. We're doing the podcast. We will answer your questions at the end of the podcast today. So keep your questions coming, but we're going to answer them all at the end. All right, next story up. Apple announces that the Apple TV Plus streaming service, which is a Netflix-like service, will cost $4.99 a month and launch November 1st, 2019. The good news is if you buy an Apple product like an iPhone, iPad, Mac, I'm not sure about iPods, if you get one of those, if you get this, but you'll get a free year of Apple TV with purchase of new devices. Apple did say there will also be a free trial and be available in 100 countries through the Apple TV app at launch. A lot of people would ask, would this be included on non-Apple devices? When they say available through the Apple TV app, I would assume that also includes the app for Roku and Fire TV when it comes out. My expectation is that will happen before the November 1st date. And on the ones on the smart TVs like the Vizio, which now supplies supports AirPlay, you'll be able to AirPlay it to your TV and more. So I do expect this on additional devices. And Jess did a really good job of breaking down all that. But we have a handful of shows that are going to be coming here. One of the interesting things I find is that Apple is definitely, spending big. They're spending a lot of money. They're outspending a lot of their competition for content. But without having any back catalog content, you're only going to find a small number of original programming at launch. So I find that move interesting. How will people justify $4.99 is a good price, but when you're looking at Disney Plus, you're looking at Netflix, Hulu, and more, not that much more money, but a whole lot more content. I don't know, Jess, what's your thoughts on all that?
I have to say, as much as I want to love Apple TV Plus, I'm just not super excited about it. I think that they are really focusing on quality, which is great. Instead of coming out with a ton of new shows, they're really focusing on a few shows, making them really, really good. They're really hyping them up, building anticipation for them. But just from watching this Apple event, it seems like they're not really focused on Apple TV Plus, which is frustrating for cord cutters. And it seems like there's just not a whole lot going on with it. I'm not as excited for Apple TV Plus as I am for, say, Disney Plus.
Yeah, I like it. There are definitely some big name stars. I'm a huge Battlestar Galactica fan. The new space show from the creator of the reboot of Battlestar Galactica is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. I love that they're going to be in all these countries. I think Apple's doing a good it's a good move here to bring it to Roku and the Fire TV, LG, Sony, Vizio, and more to expand their support. Because Apple, in the most recent breakdown, is losing market share for the Apple TV. So I find this all very interesting. Now, any show here you're excited about, Jess? Anything here is like, ooh, that's kind of cool?
Yeah, actually, they showed a trailer during the Apple event for the new Jason Momoa series C about a community in the future where everybody's blind. And it looks really good. There's a lot of like action, adventure, good storyline, just from what we saw in the trailer. So I'm excited about that one.
Yeah, that one looks good. The space show, which his name is escaping me, where the Russians beat us to the moon, and then that launches a whole new space race. I find that all very interesting, and I don't know. Now the question for me is, and I don't think this has been answered, and correct me if I'm wrong here, will they release these all at once? Will we get a binge, or will they do them weekly, like Disney Plus is going to do them weekly?
I do actually have some information about that.
Ooh,
so in Apple's press release, and I think I sort of buried this in the post while we were updating live. In their press release, they did say that some of their shows will premiere, and whenever they premiere, they'll have 3 episodes at launch, and then new episodes will come out weekly. But they did say that other shows will come out all at once, so you can binge watch them. So it's going to be a little mix of both.
Very interesting move. I wonder if that has to do with production. I don't think a lot of people realize that some TV shows are not fully finished until they basically air. This kind of came to light, I think it was Battlestar Galactica, where a couple episodes, the preview for like next week's episode, had content in it that didn't get included in the final episode for the following week. And that was because they literally were still making the show, and they decided to cut a couple scenes that were included in the preview from the week before. So I find that interesting. And maybe that's what's happening. Maybe Apple's like, hey, we're still producing this. We're rushing this out as fast as we can. So we have to release them as on a weekly basis.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
So, the question for you, weekly or binge? Which do you prefer?
Good question. And my audio, I think, is freezing just a little bit, so let me know if you're having any trouble hearing
Okay.
me. Um, I think I used to prefer to binge watch everything. So I wanted everything all at once. I wanted to just sit down on a Saturday and watch an entire season. But now I'm a little bit busier. I've got more going on, and I kind of like the anticipation of getting one episode per week, like with The Handmaid's Tale. I really like looking forward to watching a new episode on Wednesdays. What about you?
I'm gonna have to go binge watching, but that's me. I do prefer binge watching. I don't know if you're watching this or listening to us. Leave us a comment. Let us know binge watch or episodic. I guess we'll call it weekly releases. Which do you prefer? Let me know, because I think there is an argument that weekly releases will allow the show to come out sooner, right? Often shows premiere before the final episodes of the season are done being shot. If you have to wait for the entire season to be done, that means you gotta wait longer for the show to be released. So there is an argument there for that. I don't know. And lastly, what do you think of the $4.99 price? Do you think this is an introductory offer due to the fact that Apple doesn't have as much content? All the reports were pegging the price closer to $10, and that was already a price cut in response to Disney's $6.99 launch price. What do you think?
I think that was a very smart move on Apple's part. I know you and I were talking during the event, and I said, oh, wow, they really just undercut everyone else. That was very smart. And I think they almost had to. They just don't have the content there to make themselves super competitive. So coming in at a lower price and offering it for free when you buy an Apple product, I think was a very smart move.
All right. And also, one of the things I thought was interesting is they're coming out November 1st, trying to beat, or they are beating pretty much everybody to market. So they're going to beat Disney Plus to market, HBO Max, the new NBC one. Being first to market is a powerful thing, because what they say, once people are subscribed to that service, they are far less likely to cancel. Just the reality is that people are not very interested in jumping around. Once they're in something, they're kind of enjoying it. So I'm very interested to see what they do here with that. So what do you think about them cutting everybody out, or beating everybody to market? And then we'll jump on to the next story.
Yeah, again, I think that was a great move. I think that was very smart of them, and I think that they really are trying to just get in there first. Like you said, if somebody is debating between all of them, but they see Apple first, they might be tempted to just go with that and see how it goes for a while. I think that they'll do well when they first launch with this price point and coming out November 1st. But my question is, what do you think will happen in the long term? So after these other services come out, do you think people will be likely to switch over to something else?
If Disney Plus is noticeably better, if HBO Max is noticeably better, yes. I think the problem Disney or Apple TV Plus will have is lack of content. Will there be enough content day one that once other services are on the market that I won't be saying, hey, I could drop this and then jump over and do another one for a while? So we'll have to keep a close eye on that.
Agreed.
All right, let's move on to the next story. Since we're doing them out of order, I'm up next. Comcast, Fox, CBS, and Disney are suing to block a la carte TV in Maine. So Maine has passed a law that would require cable TV providers, including streaming services, to offer a la carte TV, which is this option of, hey, I only want ESPN, I only want Fox Sports, or I only want kids programming, or I only want the Lifetime Network, to be able to buy individual channels. Now, many studies have said many of these smaller channels, which are still profitable because people who don't watch them still pay for them, and then they can target ads to people who do watch them, wouldn't survive in this method. So as you expect, Comcast on behalf of NBC, which they own, CBS, Disney on behalf of ABC, and more, are suing to block this measure. Now, this would be a precedent-setting case. The networks here are saying that federal law is trumping state law in this issue, and state law can't apply to this. But state law says, hey, starting September 19th, you got to offer this. If Maine wins this case, this could open a floodgate for other states to require a similar requirement there. If they lose this, it definitely sets back the hope for a la carte TV in the nation. I don't know. What do you think, Jess?
Yeah, this is really interesting, and I'm excited to kind of see where this goes. I always love cases like this where it's setting a precedent for the whole country. Um, just think that they're really interesting to follow, and it's interesting to see how each side makes their case. But this one is especially interesting because we have questions all the time about why you can't subscribe to just one channel or why on cable you can't get just one channel. And it's why these prices are so high, because companies have to buy these channels as part of a package, and then that fee gets transferred over to customers to cover the costs. So I'm really interested to see where this goes. I'm not sure which way it's going to go, but I think it's obviously a money move for everyone involved. So I don't know. What do you think is going to happen?
This really depends on what judge we have. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I've always been told by lawyers is the first judge has the greatest say, right? That the first judge has the ability to have the most flexibility in what he rules and so forth. After that, when you appeal, you're appealing because you're basically saying there was some type of error made in the first ruling, right? And so they could come and rule that said, no, they got the law wrong, or no, they got a technical error in the way the court case ran and so forth. So I'm no lawyer. If there's a lawyer here that wants to leave us a comment, explain that a little bit better. But this really feels like it's going to come down to the lawyer, that the lawyer will have the ability to say, hey, this is what's happened. This is my opinion, my interpretation of these rules and laws. Or the judge, I should say, not the lawyer. So this I could see going both ways. I could see a judge interpreting that, no, the FCC regulates this kind of stuff. Or saying, you know what, there's nothing in the FCC that's preventing local ones from doing that. So we'll have to keep an eye on it. So we'll have to see what they rule and what they do.
Yeah, definitely. And we made a post not too long ago, earlier this summer, I think, where we talked about with the blackouts and things, about how these companies have to buy packages of channels and how that affects the customers. So we should maybe find a link for that and share it later. But yeah, it's very interesting how the whole thing works and who owns what and where money's going. So I think money will have a lot to do with it. And then, like you said, just the judge's opinion of how this law is being looked at.
Yeah, we will have full coverage of this. We're going to keep a very close eye on what they do and how they will cover everything. So let me know what you think of all this, and let me know who would you like to have win this case. All right. So Jess, you want to take the next story?
Yeah, let's talk about AT&T again. So AT&T expects to lose over 1 million subscribers and to see more blackouts in the third quarter of 2019. So this news was shared in a letter to AT&T shareholders, which outlined their goals for 2020. And kind of funny, but not surprising, that they had to start out this letter by saying, look, we're going to lose a lot of customers. But this also comes after AT&T lost 778,000 subscribers in the second quarter of this year. So not super surprising that they're expecting to lose even more. But the good news for AT&T is that the company expects to then see growth moving forward. And there are a few factors that AT&T lists for why they see themselves growing in 2020. They say that less customers will be on promotional pricing, which will increase profits. They listed the launch and growth of AT&T TV as one of the factors. Broadband growth, higher video quality, advertising growth were all listed, along with less pressure from, quote, declining legacy products. So, or declining pressure from legacy products, I'm sorry. So a lot of factors going into AT&T saying that they see themselves growing in 2020, but they are just letting everybody know that they plan to lose subscribers, they plan to see more blackouts, and no one should be surprised when this happens because they aren't surprised themselves.
Yeah, 1 million subscribers in a quarter. It's kind of weird where we're saying that's not surprising anymore. That losing 1 million subscribers in a single quarter is just now the norm. I don't know. Does that surprise you at all?
Kind of. And the thing is, this was in a
Oh,
And we were seeing a secondhand account of someone who had read the statement.
oh, keep going. Sorry.
Um, so yeah, this was in a written statement, so it's hard to know what the tone was. But whenever I read it, it looked like the tone kind of came across as they're not even being phased by this at all. Like they are not at all jaded. They're just saying, or they're not at all surprised to say that, oh, we're going to lose 1 million subscribers. Like it's no big deal. That was what was surprising to me. They weren't saying, oh, we're in trouble or, oh, this is really disappointing news. They just said, oh, by the way, we're about to lose a ton of subscribers.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. And one of the things they point to was they expect more blackouts. They were very clearly saying, hey, we are coming up in negotiations with more content providers and we're going to be basically hard on them. We're going to fight for a very good deal. And because of that, we expect more blackouts, both for local TV stations like ABC, NBC, Fox, but also for cable networks. Now we know that Disney has warned that ESPN is going to have a possible blackout with also the Disney channels and basically all the Disney-owned channels right now with AT&T. That's not been set an exact date on when that will happen, but they have announced that that will be coming, or that is a possibility going forward. But the way this press release talked, it sounded like that was only one of the possible blackouts, that through the rest of 2019 and into 2020, many AT&T TV contracts are coming up for renewal, and they're expecting many of them will result in blackouts. How long they can keep doing that and keep their and stay with not have or keep people when they can just walk away anytime, I don't know. AT&T is definitely playing with fire, but the flip side here, AT&T is saying, hey, we're just not going to be raising our prices left and right anymore. So it's kind of a weird position for AT&T to be in, because they have also, pushed other providers for more money for the Time Warner content. So I don't know. What do you think, Jess?
I think they're just in a weird position right now, and I know that we keep talking about all these changes at AT&T. I think that they're really just in this strange transition period where they're trying to figure out who they are, what they're offering, who their subscribers are, and what's going to happen. I do have a quick question for you. Somebody in the comments just asked what these blackouts mean. Is this going to be for like sporting events, or is this going to be complete channel blackouts?
This is the complete channel. So when like ESPN goes dark, the entire ESPN channel will be gone, Disney and all that, if it happens. Now, of course, they could extend these contracts. If Disney and so forth feel that the talks are going well, they will have the ability to extend them. Or they can go and just pull the channels. Or they could strike a deal before the blackout would have happened. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yep.
Anything you want to add to this?
No, I don't think so. I think safe to say we're just going to keep an eye on AT&T and keep reporting. There's a lot of news coming out about AT&T lately, and we will just keep watching it.
Yeah, one of the things I'll be interesting to see what happens is if AT&T loses 1 million subscribers, could we have a 2 million subscriber loss quarter in the third quarter? Now, we've had some over million subscriber losses in a quarter, but could this be the first time we top 2 million subscribers? So we'll have to wait and see. I don't know. What do you think? Over, under on 2 million subscribers?
Ooh, it's hard to say whether they took the tactic of lowballing that number or if they were being optimistic or what was happening. I would not be super surprised to see a huge number. I don't know. I'm hesitant to give any specific numbers about my guess because I know I will be wrong. I don't like being wrong.
I would say it's better than even chances that we would see a 2 million plus subscriber loss in the third quarter when you're looking at all the TV providers. So, All right, I think it's my story up next, right?
Yes.
All right, so one of the biggest questions we all often get is who has the most popular live TV streaming service? It's kind of one of those battles a lot of people like to thump their chest with. And numbers can be kind of hard to come by as not all services release their subscriber numbers. But Roku does have a ranking of their most popular Roku channels listed on the list of on their app or channel store. That's what I'm trying to say. According to that list of most popular channels, Hulu is number 1 for live TV, Sling TV 2, YouTube TV, AT&T TV Now, Philo, PlayStation Vue, and Fubo TV. Now, one of the things that really jumped out at me on this is the fact that PlayStation Vue is in 6th place now behind Philo. PlayStation Vue subscribers absolutely love their service, but for some reason, it's just not gaining market share. The other thing that kind of jumped out at me is Hulu at number 1. Now, we've known Hulu was growing, but at the end of the second quarter, Sling TV was still reportedly the largest streaming service out there. Now, some of that may be mixture of on-demand content being included, but it has been reported that by the end of this year, if Hulu continues its growth at this rate and Sling TV's growth continues at its current rate, Hulu will jump Sling TV to become the largest live TV streaming service in the United States. I don't know. What do you think, Jess? What jumped out at you with this list?
Like you said, PlayStation Vue being so far down on the list was very surprising. I mean, great for Philo. That's great news for them. I am surprised to see them ahead of PlayStation Vue, and I'm wondering what the reason is for that. But the more I think about it, we just haven't heard a whole lot from PlayStation Vue lately. We've heard a lot about other services adding new features, adding new content, and we just haven't been getting a lot of news from PlayStation Vue.
Yeah, one of my biggest complaints about PlayStation Vue is poor communication. They don't do a good job communicating with subscribers. They don't do a good job communicating with the press. They do great things all the time. They just had a big sale. And unless you happen to stumble on the sale for their core package, you didn't know about it. And you compare that to other places which would have been screaming from the rooftops that they have a sale going on right now. And to me, that's kind of weird. I think they really need to step up their game on communication if they're serious about it. Of course, the name doesn't help anything. There's a lot of confusion over the name of the PlayStation Vue. Do you need a PlayStation Vue? I mean, Jess, how many times have we heard that?
So many, every week.
Yeah, so we'll be keeping a close eye on this, but I think this will be kind of a fun thing to track going forward. Is there movement here? Now, we've seen some other movement. Hulu overall has jumped ahead of Amazon. Hulu is now more popular on Amazon than Amazon on Roku. So I find that very interesting. Now, Amazon does have a lot more subscribers, but how many of them are just watching or getting it for like free shipping, not necessarily to watch movies and TV shows?
Yeah, like you said, it's hard because a lot of services don't give specific numbers. And then with things like that, where it's hard to distinguish between the other services and the streaming service. Just getting the numbers and getting accurate numbers to figure this out is tricky. So we really do depend on research reports and surveys and things like that. That's how we get our numbers. So that's the reason that we report so much on different surveys and things, because that's how we find out what viewers are saying.
All right. Well, should we move on to the last story for the day?
Yeah, let's get into a little more AT&T news. AT&T wants it to be known that HBO Max will be different than Disney Plus and Apple TV Plus. So we just had this big Apple event with a ton of news. We have a post all about that. And then we've been hearing so much about Disney Plus for the past couple months. They've been giving us little bits and pieces here and there. So we've got a good idea of what we can look forward to from Disney Plus. But we don't really know a whole lot about HBO Max just yet. So the AT&T CFO, John Stevens, did an interview with Deadline. And during that interview, he said that HBO Max will be, quote, much different than what was talked about by some of the other streaming companies. Unfortunately, he gave no details about what that meant. He didn't give any specific information about what was going to set HBO Max apart. He didn't talk about any of the content coming to it. He gave pretty much nothing. The only comment that he gave was that HBO Max will focus more on quality, and that was it. So what we do know is that AT&T is planning an event for this fall, and during that event, they are supposed to be announcing more details. So hopefully we'll finally get an idea about what's coming.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with this. It's kind of classic PR speak, right? Oh, Apple and Disney are releasing all kinds of news. Don't worry, we're different. Okay, how? Well, no, I don't know how we're different. We're just different. One of the things he did kind of hint to a little
Yeah,
bit.
we're gonna focus on quality, not like
Yeah,
these guys.
yeah, no, we're good. He did hint that hey, we got Time Warner, and Time Warner is gonna make all the difference. And I'm not so sure that really adds up anymore. There's so much good content out there where you don't need to go to a legacy one. This is my argument against a lot of the big, NBC, Fox, ABC, etc. That's great that you're NBC. That's great that you're Fox. That doesn't mean anything anymore. Because Netflix, Hulu, and so many others, Amazon, is creating great original content and bringing a lot of content to the field. The ability for HBO just say we're HBO, we're Time Warner, we got this content that everybody has to watch, so they're going to pay us no matter what. I don't think that's true anymore.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that all of these places are really focusing on their original content. So in that Apple event, we saw some trailers for some of these new shows. Disney has been doing a great job of offering previews of their different shows. So HBO Max, I feel like it's just time for them to step up and say, here's what we can offer you. Because like you said, just being HBO is not enough.
Yeah. So I love to hear what everybody thinks. If you have a prediction on how HBO Max can be different, that's why I want to. How do you think HBO Max can be different from all the different ones out there? So leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. All right, so let's dive into the questions. Jess, do you have any questions from everybody today?
I do. I have a few good ones. First, this might be something that you have a little knowledge about. So somebody in the Facebook group was asking if they can use Bluetooth headphones with a streaming device. Do you, off the top of your head, know which streaming devices allow Bluetooth headphones?
Yes, most of them do, I think, now. I think the Fire TV allows direct connecting. Roku allows it through some Roku devices. Some Roku smart TVs will allow you to directly connect through Bluetooth. Or you can grab your phone or tablet, install the Roku app, and then use your phone or tablet to stream the audio from your TV through your Bluetooth. So there are many. Android TV also believe supports that feature on most of their streaming players also. But yes, you can use Bluetooth with streaming player out there or streaming players.
All right. Next question. This is one that we get pretty frequently, but a lot of people on the Facebook group lately have been asking what's the best antenna or your personal pick for picking up local channels?
I don't have a specific one. I have a bunch of brands I recommend, though. I definitely encourage you to go to something like AntennaWeb and enter your address for antennaweb.org and see what's the best option where you live. So Antennas Direct, Mohu, Antennas Hop, Winegard, RCA antennas are just a few. There's a couple other brands I can't remember off the top of my head. But I find most antennas are good. Don't buy the most expensive antenna. Don't buy the cheapest antenna. Be careful of any antenna that makes crazy promises. If it's telling you it'll pick up stations from 300 miles away, take that with a grain of salt. But there are a lot out there to pick from. Also, I'll remember that the mileage on it is the mileage under perfect conditions. So under perfect conditions, it'll get 60 or so miles. Assume you're going to get poor reception. So if you're at the 60-mile mark, you're definitely going to want to look for the more powerful antennas. So you're at the 40-mile mark, I wouldn't necessarily go buy an antenna that just says 40 miles. Try to overbuy with your antenna slightly. So if it's you live 40 miles from transmitting towers, try to get a 60-mile antenna, for example.
Yeah, that was really good advice. So, one more question. We've gotten lots of reports of people turning in their cable equipment when they cut the cord, then later getting charged for not returning their equipment. So, do you have advice about what steps people should take when they are cutting the cord, returning equipment, and moving to cord cutting?
Get that receipt. If you can, bring it into your local store and get a receipt that you did that. If you're mailing it back, I know DirecTV and other places now allow you to go to the UPS store, return it there, and they'll package it up. Get a receipt and keep that receipt. This happened to me when I returned my DirecTV equipment. I got a call a few weeks later. Oh, have you returned it? I was like, yep, here's my tracking number. And they're like, oh, okay, yep, we see that. Never mind. And so keep that receipt, shove it in a drawer, keep it for a while so they don't come back, because those non-return fees are pretty dang expensive. So keep that in mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I've gotten a lot of people on the Facebook group lately, and luckily everyone's been giving each other similar advice. Just make sure that you have the receipts. As soon as you send it in, they can't really argue against it. You have your receipt. So, yeah, definitely some good advice.
Perfect. All right, Jess, what are you watching this week?
I'm really excited about my recommendation this week. There's a show on Netflix called Travels with My Father. Have you heard of this?
No, I haven't.
It's comedian Jack Whitehall and his dad, Michael Whitehall. And so it's like a father son show, it's a reality show. The two of them just go all over the place on these wacky adventures, and it's all kinds of shenanigans. So season 3 just came out on Netflix. Haven't gotten a chance to watch it yet, but seasons 1 and 2 were fantastic. It's really funny, but it's got the whole father son heartwarming aspect too. So I highly recommend it, and I will be watching season 3 this weekend.
All right. My wife has been addicted to Outlander from Stars, if I remember correctly. I just blanked out. And she's dragged me in to watch a bunch of it. It's actually a really good show. So if you're looking for a good, well-written story with a nice long arc to it, check out Outlander. I've been very happy with it. We got through the Amazon channel, so it was the cheapest way. And now we have to wait for the new season to come out in the spring. So check that out. Let me know what your favorite shows are. What are you watching? Leave us a comment.
One quick note about Outlander.
Yep.
If you are missing the show in between seasons, the star of the show and I think the executive producer started a podcast where the two of them are, I think, going around Scotland. I haven't gotten a chance to check it out yet, but worth checking out.
My wife would be very excited to hear that. I'll have to check that out.
Let her know.
All right. Well, I hope everybody had a fantastic week. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Check back tomorrow on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/CoreCarsNews, for our daily Core Cutting Today show. And we'll be back next week, every Thursday around noon Eastern, to answer or to do our Core Cutting This Week podcast. So thanks for your support. We'll see you next week. Take care, everybody.
Bye.